Who the f do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. And if my Democrat colleagues are standing there defending you, I hope the voters of the United States of America watch the clips of every one of you doting on a guy who was more interested in being a celebrity than saving American people.
That was Senator Bernie Moreno, who apparently has way more smoke for Anthony Fauci than he does for his own colleague and former son-in-law, Max Miller, who allegedly held a gun to his own daughter's head. But that was just one gaslighty snippet from the Republicans' attempt at hosting a show trial for Dr. Fauci yesterday. Today we also have a will they, won't they question on the confirmation of Trump's criminal attorney Todd Blanche as the Attorney General. Plus, we're back at the Iran war full send, and Elon Musk is ready to spend a lot of money in the midterm elections. We have these stories and more to get into. I'm Sammy Sage, and this is the Morning Announcements, your 10-minute rundown of current events and the best way to always know what the f going on. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story and get every episode right when it comes out. Republicans have made their best run at a kangaroo court, dragging Dr. Anthony Fauci into the Senate for the closest thing we've seen to a circus in that room, and that is saying something. The whole thing felt almost like a personal vendetta led by the committee chair, Senator Rand Paul, who kicked out Fauci's attorney early in the day.
Look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered, for a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
To hold Fauci in contempt for pleading the Fifth Amendment, which he did almost 100 times to every question. Because the whole point of this was evidently to find a reason to criminally prosecute him, despite Joe Biden having preemptively pardoned him. Fauci said as much in his opening remarks.
Given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me, the only conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions.
There was also a lot of time spent going back and forth by the performative members of the committee regarding the contents of Dr. Fauci's diaries during the pandemic, as well as the failings of the CDC, which honestly could have been a productive conversation if this gathering were held remotely in good faith. And to that end, Rand Paul actually confirmed that the committee will vote on holding Fauci in contempt of Congress next week for asserting his constitutional rights. Our senators were a bunch of busy bees yesterday. Trump's personal attorney, who he wants to make the Attorney General, Todd Blanche, has had his Senate confirmation vote canceled, at least for today. But don't get your hopes up in the long term. The reason it was canceled is because two whole senators, Tom Tillis and John Cornyn, whose votes Blanche needs to get confirmed, have requested the most minimal of assurances from him, which he evidently refuses to give them. Remember Trump's $2 billion insurrectionist slush fund that he swears won't happen but refuses to commit to not doing in writing? And also the agreement he wants to make with the IRS that would give him immunity forever because of his Al Capone fears. So the problem is that Blanche won't promise Cornyn and Tillis that he won't do those things because he wants to do those things, because those things were partly his idea. For now, Blanche's confirmation vote is off, though it sounds like Tillis and Cornyn still ultimately want to vote for Blanche, so stay tuned. Also, Trump got another appointee through this week, Jay Clayton, who has zero national security or intelligence experience, but will now be the Director of National Intelligence, overseeing all of our intelligence agencies. This should be an interesting experience while having a president who might start a war with whichever country whose name he can remember at any point on any given day. The world's first trillionaire has decided that he's not through with terrorizing the Gen Pop yet. No. And he is reportedly reviving his super PAC, America PAC, which spent over $250 million on the 2024 election to get Trump into office and made Elon the largest individual political donor in a single election cycle in history. We gotta eat rich. Elon is rebooting his old toy for the midterms, and while they decline to say how much they'll spend, America PAC says it will focus on door knocking, digital ads, and direct mail to turn out voters who usually only vote in presidential elections. Elon has also reportedly been in talks with Trump's team behind the scenes about how he can be most helpful. Anything to get back in touch with the Epstein crowd. We're back at war after Iran launched a ballistic missile strike on a U.S. military base in Jordan on Tuesday night, which the U.S. was able to strike down, but that the military is calling a, quote, surprise attack. Surprise how? It's a war. We've been doing it for 6 months. The next morning, Trump told Fox News that the U.S. would, quote, beat the fucking shit out of them.
President Trump tells Fox News about Iran, we are going to beat the effing S out of them. He went on to say, we'll be hitting them hard. They're going to get a beating.
That was swiftly followed up with a joint attack by the U.S. and Saudi Arabia against Iranian-aligned militants in Iraq, which is an important new development because Saudi Arabia hasn't been part of the war in this way yet. It is all giving tinderbox because after that, 2 ships caught fire in an Egyptian port, which were caused by an Iranian drone attack that 2 Iranian sources told the New York Times was, quote, designed to show that global shipping and energy supplies could be more deeply disrupted if Iran chose to escalate. One of those ships was a U.S. storage tanker that belongs to the U.S. company Energos Infrastructure, which is owned by Apollo. The other was owned by a Greek shipping company. And when asked about Iran's latest strikes during an Oval Office event yesterday, Trump said this.
It's a little more of the same, but it's going to be straightening out. It's going to be straightening out. In the meantime, we're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it.
I know Donald has always thought of war like playing Battleships or Settlers of Catan, but I think Iran's Lego videos have finally pushed him over the edge. By the way, that Oval Office event was actually intended to unveil the $22.5 billion renovation of Washington Dulles Airport that Trump has been personally working on for months.
It's going to be so efficient. Right now, it's totally inefficient. Between the trams and the Star Wars thing that they call it the Star Wars and elevated buses and nobody knows what's going on. It's a real mess.
All of this is very well and fine, but I'm not sure why it should occupy more than 5 minutes of a president's time, even one as dumb as ours. Borrowing money isn't getting any cheaper anytime soon. The Federal Reserve voted yesterday to keep interest rates where they are, between 3.5% and 3.75%. The board's vote was 9-3, with those 3 no votes objecting because they actually think there should be a rate increase, not a decrease, as a result of persistent inflation, which is now going to get worse because of our full-send Iran war. Donald Trump would probably be furious about this if he weren't busy sorting through fabric samples for the new airport shuttle seats.